All right, let's bring in Sheriff David Klarke, who is joining us live. Sheriff, another senseless crime.
The senseless slaughter of America's finest continues. My heart and my prayers and thoughts go out to the good people in the state of Georgia as they try to get through this very difficult time. It just rips my heart out every time I hear of one of these things. And you know, when a law enforcement officer is killed in the line of duty, a bit of every law enforcement officer in America dies with them.
You know, the other issue we wanted to talk to you about, with not knowing this murder was going to take place, was about cop killing being a hate crime. And even though we think it's the most egregious thing, one of the most egregious things that can happen in our society, what would it mean to make it a hate crime?
Well, first of all, I think any murder is a hate crime. You'd have to hate somebody to murder them. But I think killing a law enforcement officer should be a capital crime, punishable by death. And if there's certain states that don't have the death penalty, then the federal government, the federal court system, should enact a death penalty for these cases, and they should go through the federal system, and upon conviction, they should be put to death.
Sheriff, what's happened to our country? Because I remember when I was growing up in South Carolina, where if you shot a cop or if you killed a cop, I remember as a kid even knowing that person's going to the electric chair. This was back when that's how they killed people, killed criminals. And now, look at, I mean, this country has changed so much. We've got so many more cops being shot on a regular basis. Where do we go wrong?
Well, we let the pacifists start to take over. That's what happened. We didn't go tough on crime like we used to. We've gone soft. We started talking about things like rehabilitation, second chance for individuals who have long criminal histories. There are a lot of things that go on that we need to do differently, but it starts with sending a clear and convincing message to the criminal element that there will be swift and severe consequences to criminal behavior. But until we get that mindset, and you look at some of the nonsense going on with this sentencing reform bill in Washington, D.C., this criminal justice reform bill in Washington, D.C., that's what has gone wrong, and it has come with some catastrophic consequences to good law-abiding people all across this country.
Sure. You know, Sheriff, everybody's talking about the election and, you know, either you were for Hillary or you were for Trump. And so many people on the left are saying, well, one of the reasons Hillary lost was fake news. You say, I saw this online, you say fake news actually started in Ferguson, Missouri with a myth regarding hands up, don't shoot.
That's the anniversary, that fateful summer night in August of 2014. It started with the hands up, don't shoot lie that was propagated by every mainstream liberal media across this country. The New York Times, the Washington Post, the LA Times, the Chicago Tribune, CNN, MSNBC, all propagated that hands up, don't shoot lie. And it was from that time forward that this concept of fake news was talked about.
All right, so that's where it could have started, and let's hope it stops and people be responsible in situations like that. But one confrontation which is heading for a collision is the sanctuary cities between the president-elect and a lot of these mayors, including Rahm Emanuel and just about every mayor in California. Now California says, you're not going to deny me money, federal government. In fact, I'm going to make the whole state a sanctuary state for illegal immigrants to stay, preventing law enforcement from conducting any immigration raids or actually tossing them out.
Well, this is the moment of truth. You know, we've gone from sanctuary cities to now sanctuary states. There are federal laws on the books which we do not have the will to enforce. One of them is 8 U.S.C., U.S. Code 1324, which provides criminal sanctions to individuals who knowingly harbor people who are in the country illegally. We have to have a zero tolerance, because we're at a crossroads. We have to have a zero tolerance for people who come into this country illegally and set up residence. That's what sanctuary cities are doing, and these cities are providing them cover. Look, you know, all we get is crocodile tears about these sad stories of separating children and so on and so forth. That's not what's going to happen anyway. But until the federal government gets their arms around this thing, and like I said, this is the moment of truth, because this is probably our last chance to get our arms around this thing. What's it estimated at? 13 to 14 to 15 million people in the country illegally or unlawfully. That's only going to grow. So if we don't do this now, if we're going to be a sovereign nation, we have to have borders. We have to protect those borders, and people have to honor those borders. Otherwise, this is going to be a lost cause, because if this number continues to grow,
Right.
then it's going to be futile.
What do you think the negotiating points were between Rahm Emanuel and the president-elect? You've met with the president-elect at Trump Tower. What do you think was going on there? You know how these meetings go.
Well, but I don't want to try to project what might have gone on in that meeting, but I think President-elect Trump needs to make it very clear, and I think he did on the campaign trail, that illegal immigration will not be tolerated in this country. You got to look at this E-Verify system that's voluntary now, where employers can put names through to make sure that people they're hiring are legal citizens. Well, it's voluntary. They should make it mandatory, things like that. Because, like I said, if we don't look, sanctuary cities, sanctuary state in California's case, these are havens for criminal behavior. Because what happens is criminals prey on people who they know are in the country illegally, because they know that that victim is going to be reluctant to go to the police for fear of being discovered to be in the country illegally themselves. So we have some serious crimes going on, things like rape, things like abduction, things like domestic abuse, child abuse, that go under and unreported in these cities because the victims are not going to call the police to report it. So that's what California needs to think about. Do they care about their residents, or do they not? Or do they want to play politics?
Sheriff, there has been general outrage about the generals that Donald Trump has selected to be on his cabinet. So far, he wants to appoint 3. You have General Flynn, General Kelly, and General Mattis. What do you make of the mainstream media and liberals saying they don't want all of that? It's too much military.
Well, I think it's laughable. You know, the left is in a general state of outrage. And, you know, to the victor goes the spoils. The President of the United States reserves the right to surround himself with who he thinks will best serve him in moving his agenda forward. That's what's going to happen here. We've done that, you know, except for extreme cases. If there's some extreme situation, that's why the Constitution brilliantly put in a check and balance on that, and that's called Senate confirmation. But except for the most severe situations, the president should be allowed to have the people that he wants to serve in his cabinet. He doesn't need the approval of the New York Times, President-elect Trump, or the Washington Post in these cabinet selections. He just has to put this before the Senate and have these hearings, get these people in office in place, so that on the first day he can get a running start to make this country great again.
Can we ask you, Sheriff? I know we saw you go up to the 26th floor over at Trump Tower in the last week or two. Newt Gingrich was asked by the Wall Street Journal, what's it like when people go up there? And he said, because Donald Trump is trying to put people under a little pressure to see how they react, he said it's kind of like watching The Apprentice. You want to know what it's like? Watch The Apprentice. Is that what he's doing, to the best of your knowledge? Is he's putting out scenarios saying, hey, what would you do in this situation?
Well, I don't want to try to get in the president-elect's head, but it was a great opportunity. Yeah, it's a media feeding frenzy over there. There's no other way up but through that lobby. I mean, unless you want to try to take a fire escape or something like that.
One guy tried to go on the outside.
I've been in those situations before. I mean, for heaven's sakes, I spoke at the Republican National Convention in prime time on TV before 20,000 people in the Quicken Loan Center. So I've been in those pressure situations before. So it really wasn't anything new.
Was it a disappointment? Would it be a disappointment for you if you do not get a position? Personal disappointment?
Not at all. I did not support Donald Trump with any strings attached. He owes me nothing. I wanted nothing in return. I supported Donald Trump because I felt, and I still do feel, that he is the best thing for the United States of America at this particular time. I respect any decision that Donald Trump makes as it relates to who's going to serve in his administration. I'm in a good place. I'm just happy that he won the election.
And we're just happy that you showed up and shared your perspective on everything this morning. Sheriff Klarke, thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you, Sheriff.
My pleasure.
All right, it's 7:11 now here in New York City. Today, President-elect Trump is going to make another stop on his thank you tour, America. In just a couple of hours, he's headed. I watched every episode of Cheers. What were you guys drinking at the bar? It looked like beer.
At times, especially any show I directed, towards the end of the night, I tell the prop man, go ahead, put some Heinekens in there.
Isn't that funny?
Oh, really?
That
that's excellent.
had to have been so much fun. Remember, news anchors could smoke on set. Do you remember that?
good old days.
we were all-
Sometimes they would have whiskey underneath the set.
Oh, yeah,
Whiskey.
you could smoke anywhere back in
Right.
then. It's movie theaters.
Right.
Yeah.
People,
No, we allow the crew to drink. That's why they're so happy,
Oh,
right,
is that-
guys? So good job.
Is that why they're
That's
sleeping?
why they never leave.
I
All right.
always say this, and I know you're curious about things I say. So I always say when it
That's
comes
why I
to
woke up
TV
this
series,
morning.
exactly. I wonder what Brian thinks. I think Cheers had it did it like nobody else. It had a mix of heart and comedy. It didn't make you laugh. It made you care about the guys. As much as I love Seinfeld, you didn't care about the people. We cared about you guys.
There was a difference with the writers of Cheers. They grew up in that generation where they grew up reading books, and they didn't watch TV. It's my generation, so they understood, the classics, Dickens and Shakespeare. They understood character development and what ethos and pathos and all that stuff, and that's what they wrote in. That's why Cheers
and a
was
lot
so-
of people voted for Donald Trump because they want to go back to that. They miss that great America.
John was on the Trump train over a year ago.
Surrogate.
Oh yeah. I was on Neil Cavuto's show, pledging my support.
I have never met Neil.
What?
He's a nice fella. Is that him? No. Okay.
He's got a Heineken right now.
What's your message for Hollywood? I mean, we've talked about the therapy dogs. We talked about the Play-Doh and the coloring books, and people are so crushed that their candidate Hillary Clinton didn't win.
Isn't it nice that the adults are back in charge? Say, okay, kids, give us the keys to the car. You've done enough damage, we'll take over.
How about Donald Trump? He's made it very clear he wants to bring back as many jobs to the United States as possible. A week ago, it was Carrier. This
Right.
week, it was the SoftBank guy saying 50,000 jobs. You have been somebody who's advocated for people to learn a skill so they can
Always.
get the job from the get-go.
And that we teach our children that in grammar school and middle school. That's the age you want to teach them. Even if they grow up to become a psychologist or a stockbroker, it makes no difference. At least they could fix their own screen door. And also they have the fundamentals to go to a manufacturing facility and be trained in something. But now that's gone. They don't even have the facility to be trained.
Sure, we were talking in the hall about how when I was in high school, my dad said, look, if you want to go to law school or whatever, you need a backup. So I wound up joining the FFA and learned how to weld, and welders today make a pretty penny.
Yeah, I know. Starting out, $126,000. I think it was North Sea oil rig, but still.
Really?
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I would train to be a dog catcher. So right now, if anybody's dog is loose,
There are a lot
just
of
call
loose
me.
dogs out there.
In case something goes wrong.
Well, we've got
Speaking of
just
dogs.
the thing for you.
We
Look
have
at that.
special
Perfect
gifts.
segue.
The pet gift box, yeah.
What are
What's
they?
going on?
Well, this is a company we started, and these are gift boxes. So instead of going all over the internet searching for different presents, we have everything in one spot. If you go to thegiftbox.com, we have, then they have the menu. You've got pets, you've got golfer, fishing,
Travelers.
These are the three that we're starting this week on.
Candy.
Oh yeah, this is the sweet box.
Oh, that looks delicious.
Have a ball.
Where's
Jump in there.
Where's the golfer box?
Golfer box
Right over
is
there.
over there.
That would be you.
Yeah.
Do you have a soccer box?
Well, that's coming. So what we're doing is we're buying up other companies now. See, when I was traveling, doing my Made in America show, and also, traveling, speaking about the trades, things like that, I keep bumping into people that have these great little businesses, but they don't have access to Walmart. And I thought, wait a minute, why not put them all together under one roof on the internet? And so that's what we've done. David Polinsky, kicked it off.
I looked on your website, and it's really great because you just go through and according to your interest, you hit that, and then once a month you send a box out, right?
Right, and so even the person you send the box to, say you send somebody, the
candy,
the candy,
sweet
if
box.
they say, we've had enough sweets and we have a dog, well, then they can switch over.
Oh.
I want the dog box in February.
Right, and
I want
you
the
still
traveler
paid
box
for
in
it,
March.
so it doesn't make any difference to them. And they accrue points, and at the very end, when you're checking out, you've got a choice of a couple of charities you can donate to if you want.
And this is great because you're giving people in business a chance, right? I mean,
Right.
You're put them with the big guys.
Right, exactly. So if you're making soaps up in Vermont, if you've got a company, you've got your act together and you can, deliver, then sure.
Okay. Right.
You come on and join
What's
the family.
Website?
Thegiftbox.com.
Very good.
Thank
You
you,
use
John.
it now, you'll get it by Christmas, right?
As a matter of fact, I'm going to leave these here for you guys to scavenge through.
Okay, there you go.
There goes that.
Thank you very much, John. That was a general statement,
Cheers, John.
Not something.
All right, Mr. Ratzenberg, always a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you,
John,
Steve.
John, thank you. Heather, Merry Christmas to you. Heather, do you want me to reserve a box for you before
sea
this
salt
crazy
caramel.
crowd?
Save one for me.
Which one do you want?
My kids do a craft box that they get every month, and they love it. These are great gifts.
Wow.
They really are.
And
Yeah, we'll be doing that. We'll be doing a craft box, especially for kids.
Fantastic.
Right.
Smart idea.
And we'll get
I
you a
love it.
coupon.
Okay.
All right, not free.
I want a coupon.
Okay.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I've got a couple news headlines.